to a number of people, but not necessarily everybody. And it is a situation where three people are involved in a relationship. It's called Both Sides of the Blade. It's MA rated. It runs for 116 minutes. And it's a slow-moving family drama about lost, interconnected people trying to navigate their lives. The common thread in this movie is angst. So you've got a divorcee and ex-prisoner called Gene, played by Vincent Linden. He's been with Sarah, Juliette Binoche, for 9 years. He is a former rugby player who retired as a result of injury. He's got a 15-year-old son who's being brought up by Gene's mum, and he's proving to be quite a handful. And this happened, obviously, when he went to prison. The pair lived 3 hours from Paris, where Gene used to live. So I'm talking about the grandmother and the 15-year-old. Sarah is a radio host. Gene and Sarah are married, very much in love, if somewhat insecure in that love. They're constantly asking one another for acclamation. Their relationship's about to be sorely tested when Gene goes into business with Sarah's former romantic partner, Francois, played by Gregory Collin. Now, I reckon that should have sent up red flags to begin with, but there you go. Francois has formed an agency to recruit junior football talent at Gene's say-so. Even a decade on from when Francois left her, Sarah still holds a torch for him. And when he sets eyes upon her again, it's evident that that spark is still there. So Both Sides of the Blade becomes a messy love triangle where each of this trio feels they are in the right and are being sold short. It's been written by Christine Angot and Claire Dennis, based on Angot's book, directed by Dennis. So it's quite an intriguing look at the human psyche. We all have our own take on various matters, whether or not that correlates with others' views, and that goes to the heart of how you define truth. Is truth reality, or is it open to interpretation? So, Dave, if I see an event and you see an event, it doesn't necessarily mean that we are perceiving it the same way, does it?
No, in fact, I think they did a study a few years ago when they were talking about crime statistics, and they said quite often if you have any more than two people who witness an event, every person's story about what they saw will be different, right down to key facts of colours of cars and things like that.
Absolutely. And I'd also read about this, and it's fascinating when you're trying to recollect something in a court of law, the longer the time that goes by, your perception may change as well. And you could swear you're at an event, but because you've read about it, because you've heard about it, because you've seen it on television, it can influence your own perceptions. So this is where truth is not necessarily a defined concept. That's what Both Sides of the Blade's all about. And really, in this case, Gene often doesn't give clear answers, or he talks around issues. And Francois is a narcissist. And Sarah somehow thinks she can satisfy both men when clearly she can't. So the main players here are Binoche and Linden, and I thought they acquitted themselves well, Dave. What did you think?
I haven't seen it yet, so I'm still got to see this one.
Well, look, let's start with you, Greg. What did you think of Both Sides of the Blade and the performances of Binoche and Linden?
I thought that they were good performances, but I somehow didn't believe in the relationships here at all. Which
really, none of them, Greg? None?
No, they didn't strike. I just, something about the relationships didn't strike me as believable or credible there, and that sort of threw me off a little bit there as well. But the film does explore those, as you said, those fragile relationships here, and the corrosive effect of the lack of trust there, suspicion, paranoia, insecurity, all come into play here as well. And these are themes that are familiar to the films of Claire Denis there as well. But I agree that the performances of the two leads were quite strong there. Binoche and Linden were able to convey so much with just their looks and their glances at each other there. The first 10 minutes of the film almost is wordless, so much relies on their performances, their ability to convey their emotions and what they're thinking there. But I thought Binoche is always very good. Here she's good as a middle-aged woman wrestling with her need for love, security and intimacy. But I thought she was somewhat selfish there. And Linden has an intense presence which he uses to good effect here, finding both a vulnerability and a suppressed rage in his character there. And even though the performances are tightly controlled there, somehow the film kept me at a distance there. I think this is one that fans of Denis will appreciate more than just a casual viewer there. And the cinematographer works in close-up quite often there, which heightens the emotional tension there. And he uses moody lighting and a greyish palette that reflects the grim tone of the material. But as I said, I just found it kept me at a bit of a distance there for much of the time.
Yeah, look, I thought the characters were well formed. I really did. I thought that their vulnerabilities were exposed. I was a little bit concerned that the story took a long time to develop, Peter. I reckon the script could readily have been tightened, and that would have heightened the drama. It would have strengthened audience involvement, which I think is critical to any movie. What did you think?
I don't quite agree, because if you're a fan of Claire Denis' films, and she's made so many interesting films about relationships, about people at the edge in terms of what they're going through, what they might be suffering, or their psychological experiences, whatever the case might be. In this case, she co-wrote this film with her co-writer, and this is all about how fractured relationships develop when there is that lack of trust or lack of understanding, and she plays it out very carefully and very consistently. So Denis is such an important filmmaker insofar as she really gets into the heart of the human psyche, and that's what makes her film so effective. It's interesting to note that Fire was the original international title of the film, and that's how it was screened at the French Film Festival earlier this year, and now it's been given another title, as in Both Sides of the Blade. I'm not sure if either of those titles are necessarily particularly worthwhile.
No, but I tend to agree with that. I came out of it and thought, oh, really? There's got to be a better title to it than this. And
that title actually comes from the song that plays over the end credits.
Sure, but was there... Okay, let's come up with another title now on the spot. Let's see whether we can come up with something that's more intriguing or holds our interest more. Both Sides of the Blade, I'm not sure that... Again, the catchiness, the marketability, things of that nature. I mean, I'm not saying it'll put you off seeing it, but it doesn't really get to the heart of the issue to me. Is there any other title you can think of, Peter, that would be better served?
Well, I was thinking of something like Human Psyche or Human Frailty, or...
But even Menage a Trois, which would get people... No, seriously. I mean, that would get people... Because sex sells, right? And sexuality is one of the elements and really a core element in all of this. And so to me, I mean, if you're marketing something, don't you try and sex it up? Or shouldn't you?
But that's not what Claire Denis is trying to do, and that's not her films. She wouldn't agree with anything like that.
I agree. I agree with what you've just said there, but I suppose that, again, it depends on, okay, how much say does she have? Maybe she has all the say, it's her film. I don't know. But generally, when you're trying to market a movie, there are some people who are experts at doing that, and if a title puts you off, that in itself is a worry to me. I'm sorry.
Well, yes, but you always look past the title. You look at who the actors are.
But you don't. Not everybody does. I mean, that's what I'm saying to you, Peter. You may look past it because you're a film reviewer, but I reckon there's got to be something that catches the eye, and often a single word is all you need, and it's very difficult to encapsulate a movie in a single word unless you pick something from it. And I suppose Fire is a better title to me than Both Sides of the Blade, if it has to be one of them. Anyway, yeah. I've stopped you mid-sentence, so keep going.
No, that's all right. I was just going to say, and what Denis is very good at is using melodrama, because there are some heightened scenes in the film between especially Vincent Lindon and Juliette Binoche, which sort of portray the fraught nature of their relationship, and she does that very carefully so that no one is necessarily to blame for the situation that each of them finds themselves in. But Juliette Binoche's character is such an important one because she is caught between a rock and a hard place about her relationships and her love and her understanding of the two men and how she can't decide between the two. And
I believe that's your life. I absolutely do believe that, because surely you can love more than one person, and that, having said that, all of them are wrong, right? All of them are doing some things that are not appropriate. As I mentioned at the outset, you've got a very closed shop character in the first instance, who she's now married to, who finds it difficult to express himself, right? Pardon me. And you've also then got another character who's clearly into himself, a narcissist, right? So, there's a lot going on here, and it shows them as being human beings with frailties. And, I mean, if we dig down into each of us, all of us have got foibles. All of us don't always conduct ourselves in a way that we potentially would even like to. And that's what I liked about the human elements of Both Sides of the Blade. Anyway, give us a score, Peter. What would you give it out of 10? Both Sides of the Blade is rated MA and runs for 116 minutes.
Another very strong film from Claire Denis, and I give it 8 out of 10.
Wow, okay. Greg, you'll be a lot lower. Go for it.
Yeah, I'm going to give it 5. As I said, I had trouble. I didn't believe the relationships, which was a problem from the word go for me.
Look, I thought it was a good film. I wouldn't have called it a great film. I'd say 7 out of 10. So, yeah, okay, we're a little bit all over the place with this one.